Hello again, guys, and welcome back to another OrCAD X keyboard tutorial video. My name is Adam, and in this video we are finally going to get started on layout of traces in our design. So we've already done some placement, we've worked on the constraint capture in our design, and the next thing we need to do is to finally connect all of the different nets in our design so that we can have more or less a finished layout. There might be some fixing that we do a little later on with, changing certain traces to shapes, or maybe cleaning things up. Maybe we might have to move some things around. But for the most part, this is going to be the main chunk of the routing in our design. One of the nice things is that because we spent a lot of time organizing things in our design, both at the schematic level and in placement, you can see that a lot of the placement is going to go, a lot of the routing is going to go pretty darn smoothly, because we should be able to more or less just kind of follow these lines. Like, for example, this row 1, all of these connections just go straight down without really much of a hitch. So let's go ahead and start routing and use the route command. Now, the route command has two different modes. One is the manual mode and the second one is assisted. I do recommend using the assisted mode because it kind of protects you from creating DRCs while you're routing. And also you have access to a couple different options here that you see, like auto centering and smoothing versus manual that is not included. We're not going to be doing group routing, so we can go ahead and turn that off. I will turn on clearance view, and all that is that once we start routing from a specific pin, it will show us these bumpers around the other pins and other objects so that we don't have to worry about accidentally routing a short. For now, we are going to start routing actually on the bottom layer, so that is correct. And if we go to my visibility here, let's go ahead and just turn off some of these other layers. And we're just going to focus on routing for now. So, we'll just turn off everything, turn on just bottom. And I do like to keep the board outline on and the conductor keeping. And we're just going to be following these lines. So once we're working in this, routing mode, the only other thing that we need to worry about is the trace width that we're selecting. And as long as we set it to auto, it should automatically choose the trace width that is set for us in Constraint Manager. So if I finish this trace here and just click on it, I should see that it is set to 7.87 mils, which is what we actually had set in Constraint Manager. So we shouldn't have to worry about adjusting that trace width unless we get to a really narrow section in our design where we might want to switch to a neck width, right? And that can still also be done in this routing command. So while you're routing, I believe you can right click and, not right click. There is in the trace width section, you can just select a neck. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to set my grid to something much easier to route on. We'll turn off the grid visibility, and I won't be doing a ton of talking throughout this. Again, it's going to be a very fast-forwarded slideshow, so you can either watch through it or you can skip towards the end and, follow along. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is connect all of these diodes to the pin on the actual switch. Most likely what's going to happen is I'll do this once, and then anywhere that I can, I'm just going to copy paste it to save time. So we're going to create a simple route on the top layer. Working layer mode's fine. So we're going to create a simple route, and then I will select these traces, and then with my snapping on, I want to snap to pins. I will hover my mouse over the center of, let's say, this pin here, copy, and then I should be able to, oops, that didn't work. Let's try that again. There we go, copy, paste. And what is this complaining about? Line to SMD pin spacing. Not on a net. All right, let's just go ahead and, well, no, this should work. Let's figure out why it's not working. All right, let's just go ahead and do this manually. All right, so that should be all of the diodes in our switches. Maybe if I missed one or two, not a big deal. We can always look at our properties, and in the right side here, we have the number of unrouted nets and the number of unrouted connections. So it's very easy to just click on one of these and track, what have I still not connected. So the next thing we're going to do really quickly is just all of these LEDs. Again, these are very simple. The data in of one connects to the data out of another. And let's see, D in LED 2. So this will go all the way to our controller, somewhere over here. And then these should just connect diagonally from one side to the other. All right, so I'm just going to really quickly fix these traces just to make sure everything is looking okay. I'm going to be using the slide command for this. Fairly simple to use. The hotkey for it is S by default. This is just to make sure that all of these little lines are more or less lining up nicely. Let's go ahead and turn on one of my grids. And this way I can just keep everything nice and clean. And make sure that all of my routes are more or less the same. Yeah, that looks pretty good. They don't have to be exactly the same, I guess, but as long as it's close, I'm happy. Alrighty, so those are pretty much fixed up now. Let's turn these grids back off. And the next thing we want to do here is, we're probably going to want to connect all of these columns to our microprocessor here. And the good thing is that we have this nice channel here where we're going to be able to feed all of these columns. These lower ones, sorry, not the lower ones. So the columns on the right side here, these are just coming from the numpad, so those will be really easy to connect. But everything else here has to come from somewhere on this left side and end up on the top right side of our board. We'll just try to make sure that there's plenty of space between them where possible, or we can even navigate them through here if we need to. So let's go ahead and do that. I think what I'm planning on doing is, first, I think what I need to do is make sure that we connect all of our decoupling capacitors. So let's just assign some colors to that. All of our power nets. And then, we'll route all the columns to somewhere around here, and then we'll worry about kind of connecting them and fanning them out appropriately. And if we need to, we can also do some simple pin swapping just to make our lives a little easier. So let's go ahead and just connect these here. And we switch to neck mode. There we go. Now, again, you'll see, let me just turn on clearance view. Because we have some of those rules already set in place, we have some restrictions on how we can actually route this. That's why it's acting a little funky sometimes, but realistically, plenty of room to do the routing that we want, except that we might actually need to extend this region a little bit. And make our line-to-line spacing, yeah. So, oops. So we make it just a little bit bigger. You know what, we might actually need it a little bit bigger on these sides too. We can say that our line-to-line spacing is okay to be 7.8, I think, in that region. Yeah, so line to, oh, should already be okay. Let's see what line-to-line spacing, actual 7.8. Okay, so now that we've actually moved the region, should autocorrect itself. Not yet. Let's see, region, line to, set that to 7.8. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So I have these nice thick traces for our power nets here. And this is some of the test traces that we did earlier. Let's just go ahead and delete that. So traces and vias. There we go. So let's worry about routing the rest of these. And we want to be in our constraint. The nice thing is that one thing you can also do is in this constraint region, let's go to our constraint manager. We can also set a physical region and say that our line width is automatically set to 7.87 mils with a maximum of 0. This way, even though we have our neck set to 7.87, we won't have to every time switch from constraint to neck and back and forth. So the moment we get inside this region, you'll see it just automatically switches it for us, and it just makes it super, super convenient for routing all of these power nets. Yeah, so it looks like either we're going to have to move this part down here, or yeah, most likely what I'll end up doing is moving this part down here just so that we can route all of these QSPI traces to this component here, or maybe drop vias. We'll see. This is quite a tight fit here, so if I start routing this to here, yeah, so already we're having to move things by just a little bit, it looks like. But that's normal. That's just part of the layout process. Nothing to be afraid of by any means. It's not like we've done anything wrong yet. Sometimes you just need to move things a little bit to fit all of your traces. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move this guy. Move command, there we go. And I want to turn on my assembly layers. I can grab it right by the middle. There we go. And as you can see, it nicely already kind of picks up and grabs that trace for us, so we don't have to worry about rerouting any of that. Just gonna try to route as much of this as I can close to this component here to give us a little more space. And technically these are the same net, so what I could do, now that I think about it, is let's get rid of these little nets here. I could just route from here to here, and then from here down to this net, and then this guy can connect up to here as well. And we'll clean that up later. You know, it's most likely what we'll do is we'll just add a shape here, but we won't worry about that right now. We just want to make sure that everything can connect reasonably well and worry about our fan out. So let's get these pins connected in here. And X in. There we go. So now we only have a couple pins here that we need to break out, probably with vias. And then this guy connects to here as well. Perfect. Okay. Now, all the ground pins are ultimately just going to get, a via drop down to our ground plane, so we don't need to worry about that so much right now. This will connect to somewhere over here. We'll worry about that later. And this we will also worry about later. So we're mostly just concerned about all of these guys coming to over here around where our controller is.